good.
Okay, so we are live streaming now. And I will go ahead and do our formal introduction. I am going to say, I'm just looking at the attendees. Most of the people know who we are. Just very briefly, if you don't know who we are, I'm Judy Kitt. I'm the president of the Foundation for Mind Being Research. We were founded in 1980, so 43 years ago. At the time when people were talking about the mind-body connection, and the founders of our organization really wanted to kind of explore more than mind being, right? More than mind body. They were thinking of mind being. That's where our name comes from. That kind of really, it's the bridge between science and spirituality. And so for 43 years, we've been a forum for people who are really kind of doing that work and exploring the nature of consciousness. And now that we're on Zoom, we can reach more people. If you want to see any of our past presentations, they're all on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is FMBR TV. So if you just type that in, and you can subscribe over there. And our website is fmbr.org. So that's my introduction, which people have heard many times. So I want to let you know that we're really honored to have Master Meihua Daggett with us this evening. Master Daggett has studied Qigong since 1995 and studied Qi healing with world-renowned Meihua Grandmaster John Sai, who named her Meihua 18th generation lineage master in October of 2019. As a woman, and I love this, Meihua ushers in the feminine to a lineage that has had masculine leadership for centuries, which I think we could talk about that, for an hour. But with a focus on self-healing, Meihua first helps people clear their energy, then proceeds to teach the Meihua secrets for creating an internal physical alchemy, the results of which are absolutely mind-blowing. Her students from age 11 to 79 years old include individuals diagnosed with cancer, serious autoimmune diseases, neuropathy, spinal issues, cerebral palsy, kidney disease, and more, as well as bodybuilders, athletes, and those who just want to feel better in life. So Master Daggett is visiting the Bay Area. She just arrived from the Midwest where she lives. So we have a remarkable opportunity and rare opportunity to be with her tomorrow afternoon. She's doing an in-person workshop for us. And she also has a limited number of Qi clearing sessions available. So if, while she's here, I will put the number to contact her into the chat. And if you're interested in that, you can contact her directly, or you can contact me, and we can help get that set up. So that's my introduction. Master Daggett, welcome. It's good to see you here.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. I'm thrilled about having this opportunity to speak with people who already have widely open minds and have done their own search. So that's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a good group. We have a good group of, it's a really eclectic mix of people who are really open-minded, but also really educated, and they know their stuff. And so there's a credibility to the people in our organization, but also that openness to things that are not mainstream, that mainstream science has a hard time with, or sometimes even the mainstream medical establishment. I hate to use that word, but anyway, we're pretty open. I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us about the Meihua Qigong.
Well, thank you again. And before I start, I always tell people that I can only share what I've experienced, and so that's where I come from. People often ask me, how does this differ from any other energy work? And I studied Reiki years ago and got to the 3rd level. And
I forgot.
oh, a woman after my own heart. I do that all the time. But what I was thinking is that, you were referring to the membership of FMBR as what I would call grounded people who have the capacity mentally to think out here, but also have a strong center of groundedness in terms of why they think that, why they believe that, what their experiences are. And that's where I like to come from. My lineage in Meihua, Grandmaster Sai would say, if you don't feel it, it ain't real. Literally. So in the training that we do, for example, I don't move on to the next step until someone feels inside their body whatever should be happening with that particular chi transformation. So I appreciate the fact that people have built professions around this and have insights into energy and consciousness and, whatever we want to call it, because now it goes by many, many names, which, well, it should. I think it's so undefinable. But I'd like to also start a little bit with my personal journey into this, because it helps me explain why just one doorway into the pathway of learning about energy and feeling it and how it expands consciousness. It's not something that I ever intended to do when I was, I was in my early 20s and traveling, backpacking in Europe, let's go Europe, all that years ago, and had a moped accident on the island of Corfu. And it turned out, as you age, things kind of start showing up in a different way. So from early 20s to the time I was 39, that accident turned into a ruptured disc that blew in instead of out, which means it tore my spinal cord. And there were a lot of complications with that. I lost the use of my left leg, my left foot. I had a lumbar laminectomy, which, thank God, it was a brilliant neurosurgeon who did my surgery. And he said, all I did was scrape away the tissue away from the spinal cord. But it truly changed my life. It's like you just put the brakes on, and I couldn't walk, I couldn't run, no more playing tennis, just all the things that you come to find out are not things to be taken for granted. So at 39, my life changed drastically, and I became very focused on my physical being, which I had just totally taken my body for granted. And in that process of not being able to do the regular activity, I saw someone doing Tai Chi in a park and thought, well, for heaven's sakes, if I move that slowly, surely I won't hurt myself, because every time I tried anything, I hurt myself. So I got into a Tai Chi class with a disciple of a renowned grandmaster from Shanghai, and fell in love with it. And that was the first time I ever thought about energy moving through my body. I would say I don't have much energy today, or I'm very energized, but to really get a sense of energy as something that was the first time I thought of it as something separate from my body versus something that was my body, if that makes sense. So through that study, my body began to heal very slowly, and I responded to energy work and energy exercises. And I did that for, I think 16, 17 years, somewhere in there, and was in a different lineage at that point in time. And I say that in the intro that you read about being a female in this lineage, because the reason I left my other grandmaster was because it was very clear I was not going to be getting the same information as the guys in the class, and that I wasn't going to be getting a black belt. And so I thought, God, you talk about a glass ceiling. And so I thought, I just didn't know what to do. I was heartbroken. So I left that. And in the process of those years, my hip from the ruptured disc was going out. And I found a grandmaster in Chicago, Grandmaster John Tsai, who I called and said, can you help me? Because I'd heard that he just did incredible energy work. And he said, I don't know, you'll have to come visit. And I did. And I am not kidding you. In one day, I learned more about the capacity for energy inside the body and even and outside the body. I learned more in one day than I had in 17 years. As much as I loved the Qigong and the Tai Chi, and God, the gorgeous movements, and it tuned me, those slow movements tuned me into my body. I learned how to feel the joint tissue because I was in so much pain in my spine, and I loved it. But with Grandmaster Tsai, I learned that energy is something that if I partner with it and I'm willing to respect it, that it can grow far beyond, it could grow far beyond what I had ever imagined. And that's what I really want to talk about today. And it's all of what I learned was based on Meihua Temple healing traditions. Meihua Temple is outside the city of Shandong, China. It's, God, we've traveled so on a bus and several times, and it seems to me like it's 3 or 4 hours southeast of Beijing. That's where we would fly in. But I went there to be initiated, and the people there are so humble. And Grandmaster is the one who took us there, and he said, because he also came from a Shaolin Kung Fu background, the external. He was a world champion, 2-time world champion in Kung Fu. But I can see him now. He stood at the front of the bus and said, Meihua healing, you can't find anything better in terms of the Chinese culture or Chinese medicine. He said, but the Kung Fu, not so good, not so good. The Shaolin Kung Fu was better, but I was never interested in the external. So these people were so humble in terms of, and generous in terms of what they gave us, because it's not a wealthy village, this village of people. And they would invite us into their homes and give us food when they didn't have any, or, whatever they were going to eat. And I came to understand that the way they lived was also the power of the healing traditions that they taught, because their living conditions are built on just this inherent trust that everything's going to be okay. It's not a happy-go-lucky, think positive. It's just an inherent way of being. And the way that I look at this now, aside from the skills and the exercises, is if I could tell anybody just one thing about energy work and healing, it's so trite, but it truly is, you have got to let go. Not just of the pain, but I had to let go of my own ego to allow the chi to be as powerful as it can be. So what is chi? I mean, some people call it the cosmic web. You can call it the essence of life. There's a lot of research now that refers to it as the dark matter, the dark energy in the universe, which in itself is so interesting to me, because only 30% of the universe is what we would call matter. Only 30%. The rest of it is dark matter, black holes, things that we don't even begin to understand. But they also know from reactions that that's where all the juicy stuff takes place. All the good stuff is in the hole. It's in the dark matter. Well, I'm sure everyone here knows that in traditional Chinese medicine, just look at the yin yang symbol. It's the yin that's dark. It's the yin that's the negative. And it's in the yin and in the dark matter where the creation takes place. So just taking that thought, it's in the letting go and becoming the dark matter that creates a space inside my body that will allow the healing to take place. So, you can look at letting go, or I look at letting go, emotionally, letting go of physical pain with breath. But it's more of that deep trust that the Meihua people exemplify, and just knowing that everything is possible, truly, not just having the thought or reading that or seeing a poster that says that, but actually having a subconscious signal that tells you that all the time, because the chi will always be there. When I'm gone, the chi's going to be there. The deal is, am I going to open myself up with humility and gratitude to allow that power fully into my body, because it has an intelligence that my frontal lobe just can't even imagine. So this afternoon, for example, I was doing the chi cleansing and clearing on a woman, and she said, "God, this is just magical. How do you know what to do?" And I said, "I don't ever know what to do until I put my hands on a person." And it's not a thought process. It is a gift, truly. Like when she came in, 9 times out of 10, I will start a cleansing at the vagus nerve just to balance out the rest of the body. And I don't know why, because I've done this before. My hand automatically went to her spleen. And I thought, oh, because I've done it enough times now to know that my hand, it's honestly like something takes my hand and puts it there. And I thought, wow, I'm not at her vagus nerve, so she must have a spleen problem. But that's not something that happens here. It's just, it is like being connected to the cosmic web, and it's like being connected to what's called the Akashic records or Akasha. It's not that I didn't believe that before when I studied more metaphysical things, but I didn't have a personal experience with it. I had things that I knew were intuitive, but a lot of us have intuitive thoughts. This happens so regularly and with such positive results that I know it's not me. It's truly just something coming down through me. So that is when I've gotten to the place where all the energy that I've built with skill and with exercise, and then you let it go. It's almost like raising a child. You're there, you're trying to do your best, trying to teach things, but at some point you have to let it go. You have to let this person go be fully what it can be without any input from the parent, the mom or the dad. And when I first started the cleansing, what I used to hear was, "Get out of the way, get out of the way." And, honestly, I was afraid to, because God, what you don't want to do is hurt someone. But now, before I ever start, I just try to set myself aside and let this energy come through. But that happens because I've done the work of, one, clear. I've been cleaned so much and continue to be cleaned that the pathways are cleared inside me so the energy can come through and out of my hands or elbow or whatever I'm using at that point in time. But the real key to the Meihua tradition is building what we call a chi ball. And God, I can hear Grandmaster's voice right now. Your chi ball is not strong enough. Well, a chi ball truly is a ball of energy that you build in the lower dawn. And I can't really change the camera. I'll stand up. And I think most people probably know where that is, right here at the lower belly, about 2 inches below the belly button. So there are exercises that you do, and that's the most powerful alchemy that we do. There are 7 transformations that happen after the chi ball that we've learned to do. But building the chi ball, that's your second battery pack. So it takes a minimum of 4 to 5 months to build it, and it's a daily practice. Qigong means energy work, but the nuance of it means daily, consistent work where it's compounded interest. So it's not like real Qigong isn't just hit and miss, isn't just Tuesday and Wednesday or, just the weekend. It's something done regularly, because it's that regularity of exercise where you build a real relationship with the Qi inside your body and the universal energy that you bring in. And I think I referenced that earlier, that's how I see, that's the differentiation of Meihua, is that it's not just using the universal energy, it's having taken universal energy, mixing it with your body chi and working it like dough until you can make a really nice loaf of bread. And it's a round loaf. And it is truly a ball that sits at your lower dawn. I won't do it right here, but those of you who come to the workshop tomorrow, I'll show you my chi ball. And Susan will probably swallow her tongue, but if Susan will do it, she's in the process of building a chi ball, and we'll see what hers looks like tomorrow. But it's mind-blowing. I don't know what else to say. I never imagined that anything like that was possible. So first you spend the time building the chi ball. And that's kind of like flirting with somebody and you go out on a few dates. That's the relationship. And you continue working with the chi ball, and then you learn how to transform the energy, the second battery pack of energy in your body. You learn how to transform that into dynamic chi, or iron chi, or silky chi, or change the shape of it to change the frequencies of the energy inside your body. You can change the frequency with color. I think everybody knows that color is frequency, and then sound. And the one that's just recently come in to me is the crystalline energy. And I'm still working with that. I was guided to live in a place in Arkansas, which is my native state, my homeland, that was another thing that this woman, she said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Arkansas." And she raised up off the table, "Arkansas? Well, what are you doing here?" So, but I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and Hot Springs, if you buy a crystal in the United States, I would lay my life down. It's from Hot Springs and Mount Ida, because this little village, and it's 30,000 people. Between Hot Springs and Mount Ida, it's just a bed of crystal that's the whole area sits on. And I think that's why people are so attracted to it. And it's funny because there are a lot of Californians who are moving into Hot Springs. And they're drawn there by the crystal energy. So that's one of the transformations that's come in lately. And I'm trying to figure out how that relates to my being in Hot Springs. And do you need to stand in that area and receive those frequencies in order to do it in a powerful manner? So those are the transformations that you can do. And then you learn with each transformation. I teach how you apply those for healing inside your own body. And then if you want to learn how to do cleansing, then I can teach you that, and you can use it, the frequencies that you've built inside your body, you can use that to help other people heal. And most often I assign chi exercises to support that healing process. And what else was I going to talk to you all about? Are there questions? I saw two questions coming in.
I don't see any questions yet. I just put the clearing session information in the chat.
Okay.
I'm interested to know about, going back to the being in a feminine body, what how you perceive the change, what you bring as a Western woman, what you bring to the lineage and the teaching of the lineage.
Well, first of all, when this whole process of Grandmaster leaving, the official title is I'm the lineage master for the 18th generation. He was 17th generation. People were stunned, actually, that he would assign that to me, because there were some other people who had been his students longer, who, some were Asian. So to leave it, and everybody, but let's see, there were 3 women students, one who wasn't coming as much anymore, and the other was newer than I and had not studied Qi. The truth is, honestly, I just caught on really fast. And I think that was the number of years that I had studied Qi. And I honestly think that it was because of the moped accident that I referenced, because of the pain that I had experienced in my own health struggles, because once my spinal cord was torn, other things happened to the spine, just crazy stuff. But that forced me, even then, before I knew how to use the Qi really to heal myself, I would go inside my own body to see what the heck was going on, because so often, well, let me put it like this. When I had my first surgery, back surgery, it's actually my first surgery ever, they said, "You'll be as good as new." Well, I learned quickly I wasn't as good as new. I couldn't friggin' move my left. I couldn't control my foot, for example. I couldn't move. My leg was like wood. So I learned really fast that if I'm going to feel whole again, And that doesn't mean that I never have pain. I just wanted to feel whole. I wanted to be able to not be afraid to walk up and down steps that I was going to fall. I don't, I didn't want to live with those fears. So I had to do that because nobody else could be inside my body but me. And to be fair, how would they know that I'm not going to be as good as new? And I'm sure that's something that the doctor said to make me feel better. But the thing he asked me first, the first question he asked me when I got there, and I was 39, he said, "Are you incontinent?" I said, I was so insulted. I said, "For God's sakes, no, I'm 39." And I didn't know that the area that was torn controlled my bladder and kidney. So ignorance is really helpful sometimes. So I didn't have to think about it. I didn't think about the fact that my spinal cord was torn because I didn't know that for 9 years when a chiropractor looked at the MRI. He said, "For God's sakes, it's miraculous that you even walk." So I think that those life experiences, and Grandmaster came to understand those because he was trying to help me heal my hip at the time. And he knew that I knew how to get inside the body because he had me doing exercises early on that no one else did because they didn't need to. So that's a really positive side of those experiences. The many of the insights I have today come from the things that I learned because of my own research to heal myself. That's how I know a lot of that. But getting back to the being a woman in this position, it's not been easy. Let me say that. But I am so not just convinced, but I feel very centered in the fact that I know the energy on this earth has shifted. And when Grandmaster, before he died, he looked at me and he said, "You will take this much further than I ever did because you understand it in a different way." And he said, "I'm a warrior." And he was a Shaolin warrior who had learned how to heal. He said, "I'm a warrior and you're a healer." And he said, "And you need to teach people how to heal, to carry this information forward, because the temple opened the doors to this treasure only, I think it was 2008. And yeah, it's at least 500 to 800 years old. So he was the one Grandmaster Sai is the one who brought it to the US. And he told me very clearly, he said, "It's your job to carry this forth. And you teach as well as you can and expect that people will expand it even further than you." So that is my expectation. There's so much information coming forth from all the quantum sciences. And I just think I think the eggshell is already cracking. And, there's so much is going to come forth. So I'm out talking to people like you, and thank you so much for this opportunity to say, this is what I have to share. It doesn't mean that it's the end all be all, but it's what I have, and I want to share it. So if people want to learn it, I would love to teach them.
That's so wonderful. I want to talk about the shifting energy because I think, but I'll do that in a minute. I think a lot of people are noticing it, especially kind of that it's building. And I think people who are sensitive are really feeling it right now. But I do have a couple of questions. Sue wants to know, does gender actually affect the way someone interacts with energy?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. That's with the assumption that gender brings with it the belief structure that's typical in this country. I personally, the broadening continuum of gender, I think it's broadening like that because the energy is getting bigger. If you look at it as a continuum where we were like this, like there's male on the right and female on the left, and as the energy expands, so does, all the possibilities for what gender will look like. That's the way I see it. Yeah, it's so.
I love that. I was just talking with someone about that today, about how we've been so binary for so long in the duality, right? We were born into this dualistic playground. And as the frequency is increasing, experience becomes more of a continuum. And we're seeing that in a lot of different ways.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Jerry wants to know if you're going to be teaching exercises on how to build a chi ball in your workshop tomorrow.
No. I'm very blunt and straightforward. No, that's to do that. You is something that you would need to be in. I actually interview people before I teach them that. So when you start learning how to build a chi ball, you're entering into the inner circle, and that's not to be taken lightly. So I don't teach that publicly. I teach that to people who come to me and say, I want to learn this. And because it takes discipline. It's not, it takes a lot of discipline. To give you a clue, God, ask Susan tomorrow. She'll tell you how much discipline it takes. But it's, you get to a certain phase, a certain number of repetitions, and then you do that for 99 days. It's very rare for someone to make it through the 99 days, because if you miss a day, you start over. It took me 6 months to get a chi ball. There are only 2 people, and they're both my students. One man, I knew he would make it through in 99 days because literally his life depended on it. He had been given 60 days to live with cancer, prostate cancer, for the second time. And the other one, she had a background, or has a background, in martial arts, and she got through it in 99 days because she was used to that discipline. Most of us aren't. And Grandmaster would get so angry with me because he'd say, you are not a warrior. You have no discipline. And I would say, you're right. I'm not a warrior, but I have passion. That's what carries me through, is the passion. Because as I do energy work and my relationship with the energy inside me and around me expands, my whole life expands. Emotionally, I'm calmer. I'm just more connected to life. I don't know how else to explain that. And that gives me incredible passion. And to think that I can share that and help people. It's not that everything's hunky-dory in my life, but because I've experienced the possibility of what's literally sitting on the tip of my nose and on the inside of my eardrum, the possibilities of just that keep me so excited. They just do.
That's amazing. I love that. It sounds like, when you're doing this, you're opening up to more possibilities, right? You're opening up to a larger sense of yourself in creation, which I think is part of what we're doing here, right? We're part of, the many ways to do it, I think. And when you said this information has only recently become available, I hear that in a lot of traditions, right? the shamans from the high Andes are like throwing open the doors.
Yes.
They're just saying all of this information that's been guarded for millennia, it's now time for it to come out because, the people need it in order to help move the planet forward.
Right. Exactly. That is the real passion too that I have, is that if I really want the vibration in this world and on this planet to rise, I have to raise my own first.
Yeah, that's the work. That's the
Mhm.
work that we're doing. Deborah says she says she loves what you're saying. She's had a similar experience, and I'm going to read what she says. Discovering my Atman, the second person born with you. I do a similar thing to what you do. I meditate daily and do Tai Chi Chuan daily so that I can have the grace of a relationship with my Atman, or indwelling God. The Atman does the work for me. That idea, right, of being kind of the hollow tube, the hollow reed, right, through which the divine manifests. Like you, I have no idea how it's done. It's grace and miraculous. It's funny because when I was learning shamanic techniques, the first thing they said is, if you know what you're going to do before you put your hands on somebody, stop, go back, because that's not it. Right? It's not coming from your brain and your trainings, your intellectual training, as much as it's the energy that's working through you. And I think, in the West, it's a hard thing for us to let go of that. That I love that idea that, okay, the work is let go.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's the work. I have come to believe that it is not what we need to do. It's what we need to stop doing.
Mm.
Because the minute I become conscious enough to try to think, what do I need to do next, whether it's with my body or someone else's, it's probably not the thing to do. It's not what I need to do. It's what I just need to stop doing. And I need to stop getting in my own way. And that's where the creativity comes from. It's where the healing comes from. It's where the possibility lies. It's where the creation is. And it's where the fun is,
Right. There's artistry in this.
Yeah. And the greatest responsibility I have is to let go of my ego. It's the greatest responsibility I have, to listen and let go.
We're talking, and Jerry Jin is on the call. You might want to chime in, Jerry. We were talking, because, we talk about this idea that we are creators, right? We are coming into this awareness that we're creators, and we're really called to learn to raise our vibration in a way that makes us able to create something beautiful and beneficial. But Jerry, so he's raised his hand. We were talking about the changing energies that he's been tracking. So I am going to, Jerry, go ahead and unmute yourself. Jerry's the chairman of FMBR, by the way.
Hello, Jerry.
Hi, I really enjoy your talk. And I follow energy very closely using a technique in radiesthesia. And what the technique is showing is that the energies, we're undergoing a shift in all of mankind right now. It started in April, and there's been a number of activations that we're observing. And the activations, there's been about 7 or 8 activations. And if you can, I guess you can't see me, but there's a chart that I can show you of how you can follow the energies that are occurring. And everyone has colors around their body and around their head. And all the colors were there. And we discovered these colors using these techniques of radiesthesia. And in May, the color suddenly changed. It was amazing. And it
You
changed
said
over a number
for
of days.
everybody. You said for everybody.
Everybody,
Yeah.
well, I shouldn't say everybody. I think there's several categories of folks, and I should even talk about that. But for those who, I'd say 90% of the population has changed in a way that is very dramatic, and they're still undergoing that change. It's not over. And and the energies are now, before people had within, say, over the head, the energies that are of different colors. And, you know, you may be in indigo color mixed in with some other types of colors. There are very few persons that are pure colors. Some of the people, I checked the energies of people like Christ and Muhammad and some of the leaders of the various religions, and they're all violet. Most of these disciples were indigo in color, and uh, these are very good energies that people have. And very few people had the ultraviolet and the pure white colors that were there. But suddenly, everyone got all the colors, and it started out that everyone was getting the colors of uh, ultraviolet, violet, and indigo and white were there. And they were started out with bands of colors, and then later on it became the whole body was of that color, and their biofield was of that color also. And there's a corona to it, and even that has been changing over over this time period. So there's some amazing things that are going, and it truly is a birth of mankind or of humanity, and we're undergoing all of this, and no one realizes this except those few that I've been working with that have been looking at this and following this. So all this, I'll be able to explain it sometime in some talk, but it hasn't gotten out into the world just yet. But it's an amazing thing that is in fact happening in the world.
Yeah. It's exciting times, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's exciting, very exciting, and it's through a process that you use called, what'd you say, radiothesia?
Radiesthesia. It's
Radiesthesia.
radiesthesia. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be interested in learning more about that.
Yeah. So this idea that, and I think a lot of people are feeling this change, right? They don't have words for it necessarily, or if they're new to this, if they're new to energy work at all, they have no idea what's going on. They just know things are changing. And so I love the container that Qigong creates, right? So that you're not only you're not only at the effect of these energy changes, but you're participatory, right? You're in co-creation with the energy.
Right. And the way that what I have experienced, and I've said this in a different way, I think, is that if I have built my relationship, if I've built the extra battery pack, because it takes extra energy to do the transformations, and if I've trained the pathways in my body to hold the charges that come with those transformations, if I've done the work and I've gone through it all, then I'm finished. And then what I have to do is, that's when I really have to get my ego out of the way, because that's the only blockage there is. I am the only blockage there is. So I don't have to raise my frequency. I have to prepare myself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually to receive what is all around me.
Right. So it's more a process of alignment.
Yes.
Right.
For the resonance to occur, because it's just trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just knocking on the door. And most of us or knocking on the window and we're just pulling the blinds. Like, oh, I don't know what that is. I didn't create that. It must not be mine.
Mm.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just and I get so excited learning about things that like Jerry was sharing, and it just it's coming in all forms. All forms.
Really, across sectors, right?
Mhm.
It seems to be
Mhm.
everywhere. Can I ask you a random question about your history?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, what was your training? What was your day job before you did this?
Systems design and training for corporations. I had my own business doing that.
Systems design. That aligns really well.
It does actually. And I can remember, because what I did before that is I studied education, so I've always done training of some sort. And God, how did I even get into that? I can't remember. I went from community development work, because in the community development work, you don't even know you're learning systems, but if you don't know the systems, you're not going to get anything done, whether it's a group dynamic or the dynamic of the county government. And then I was hired into healthcare, long-term care, and they told me they wanted me to oversee quality improvement. And I said, I don't even know what that is. I'll never forget this. And Bob's the guy who hired me. He said, oh, he called me Daggy. Oh, Daggy, you're just that naturally. And
Oh,
he sent me to study with the Naval at the Naval Academy. It was fascinating, just fascinating. And I thought, yeah, this is how, because I had already been in Tai Chi for a while, and it's like, yeah, there's this big whatever out there, and it's all connected, and it all affects everything. So did
that's
that answer your question?
that's a wonderful story. It kind of feels like that was just the road it was meant to be,
Yeah.
to do what you're doing now.
Yes. Even my hands, I have really long arms and really big hands for a woman. And now that I do the cleansing and I'm able to hold the vagus nerve and touch a foot, like,
Oh.
what? This is why I have long arms.
That's wonderful. Kevin wants to know, is chi a commodity like electricity, or does it have its own consciousness?
It has its own consciousness, and it has multiple forms. It's not that chi is, because there is electricity, and it can take the form of plasma, and it can take the form of gas, and so it has different. That's my experience. It has different shapes, it has different consistencies. Like when I put my hands on people, I can feel the density of the energy. And I'm really pretty sure 9 times out of 10, and I don't tell people that I think they have cancer. I'd say, you need to get such and such checked. But you can tell from the density kind of what something is. Or there are even times that you can feel the energy in the body, and before I pull it out, it's like the chi knows, and it splatters.
Mm.
It will go all over the place, and then I have to use a lot of magnetic to pull it back together. And I talk to him like, come on, baby, we're leaving. We're leaving this body. So I think it has its own consciousness. I feel sure it does. Yeah, just watching the flowers grow in my yard, or got this fabulous arugula in my garden now. But watching all that grow, when there's a thunderstorm and the ions shift in the air and you walk out, and it's like the watermelon vine is a foot longer than it was the day before.
Right.
That happened. That's chi, and that's a different consciousness than what created the thunderstorm.
Yes.
It's a consciousness, but it's a different form of that consciousness. So yeah, it has its own being. that's what I mean when I started off saying that I knew energy in my body, and I would say, I have energy. I don't feel energetic. I feel energized, but it was all about me, you know. Now it's like there's this consciousness that I call chi that creates all things. And I have some of it in my body, and I have access to it all.
Hmm.
That's a different perception.
And that's a different way of walking in the world, right?
Yeah.
That's a different way of being.
Yeah. Like sometimes if I'm all focused on something that's about me and I walk through the woods and I'm thinking, because, you know, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out, figure it out. And I don't feel that different when I get back to the house. But if I walk through the woods and I set the intention to say, I'm going to pick up energy from every pine tree to calm me down. And I can think and I can think and I can think and I get back and I'm calm. So it truly, the power of attention and intention. We teach, the Meihua traditions teach 6 integrations of energy. And the pair, they're all yin yang, but the one that's most powerful, the pair, is attention and intention. And it's not about bearing down with a thought. It's about how deeply do I desire it? And how can I set my third eye focusing on it and then let it go? There's
that letting go again.
Yeah, you create the space.
I have a question coming in from YouTube. Randy wants to know what the series of exercises you give.
Mm-hmm.
What is that time commitment? What is per day?
Oh, for the chi ball?
Yeah. How much time daily is the commitment?
About an hour.
Okay, so it's not for the faint of heart.
It isn't. It is. And there have been people who've asked me to teach them this that I didn't teach for various reasons. That's because it's a strange, it is the yin and the yang. It's like I want people to know it, but they have to value it. And it's and you don't really get the full value of it, because I experience the same thing. You do the work and you have this chi ball and you have incredible energy. Just all of a sudden I had more energy in the day and I felt so much better and pains started fading away. And I'm just, my ego just got a little bigger. So you have to be careful about the people who are going to really value it. It's why once you finish the chi ball, it's the best thing is to go into the first transformation to knock your ego down a little bit. And then you get up and it gets knocked down. In the next transformation, you go up until you realize, I don't need that ego. I don't need that blockage.
Right, because it is a block, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is a hindrance to that greater energy coming through.
Yes, but it is not for the faint of heart.
Heidi wants to know, it's a terminology question. Would she be something which might be called the Holy Spirit in some traditions?
I would think so, but I don't know. I was raised in a very fundamentalist church, and if they heard me say that Holy Spirit and chi could be interchangeable, I would be excommunicated, which that's okay because I left anyway. But yeah, so I try not to get into all that, but in my thought process, yes, I would say so. It's like, it's the mother of the universe. It's the power that makes things happen. Which I wanted to say this earlier about the question relating to gender and being a woman and holding this lineage master position. if the yin yang symbol has the meaning and understanding that comes with that has also expanded. And if there's not something that rubs against each other, nothing's going to happen. There has to be a rub. There has to be the spark for the creation to happen. And I'm sure everyone here knows the yin yang. You've got the yin and you have the yang, and in the yang you have that little circle of yin, and in the yin you have that little circle of yang. But it's that movement of those together that creates the spark. So we were referring to duality and the continuum of gender, and that's how I see it. But it's still, I think, because I've really thought about this a lot, does it have to be in duality? And I kind of think it does, that there can be an extension of that continuum, and maybe the yin yang symbol gets bigger, so to speak. But if there aren't two things rubbing, nothing's going to happen. I mean, I think, we've been in a period of a lot of yang energy, and not just with men. I see a lot of women taking on yang energy, so that was so dominant. And now the yin energy is coming up, that we learn about dark matter, and we learn that 70% of the universe is dark energy, that's where the creation starts. But you still have to have both, and both I think should be fully respected. And we all have both. It's just how much of each creates harmony inside this body. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Let me just check to see on YouTube if there are any other questions. Okay. I don't think so. There was another question coming. I love what you said about creation taking place in the yin. And that I wrote it down. It's in the letting go and becoming the yin that allows the healing to take place. I love that so much.
Well, the cleansings will start. If anyone signs up for a cleansing, it starts with what we call magnetic meditation, and that's the working with the yin energy of the earth. And in this tradition, it's the magnetic chi that, here's the language that Grandmaster would use. He kept things so simple. It plugs up the leaks in the body. So when you get overstressed, or you're ill, or take an abundance of meds, or whatever's going on, there's a blockage that occurs of the chi flow. But right here and right here, with that blockage, it's not sealed, so there are leaks. And literally, we lose energy. It leaks right out of our bodies. This magnetic energy will come in and plug those leaks. So it's the yin energy that initiates the healing. It's not always the yin energy that totally completes the healing, but it always has to initiate it.
I love that.
Otherwise.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions. I'm going to check YouTube one more time. Oh, Lucy wants to know if you can do anything with someone remotely. That's a good question. Do you do remote healings or remote clearings ever?
I have done them before, only because a friend of mine screamed at me. Her husband had a rattlesnake bite, and she called and she said, Meihua, you need to cleanse Tony. I said, Heidi, I don't know how to do that. Yes, you do. Do it. Do it. So I did. And it, it stabilized him enough to get to the ER because it had already been 5 days from the time of the snake bite. I know I was connecting because my t-shirt was soaked with sweat. And I called her and said, his gut is on fire. I don't know what it is, because they at the time didn't know it was a rattlesnake bite.
Wow.
Because he had severe neuropathy in his ankle from a war injury. And he didn't feel the snake bite him. Mm-hmm. But it forced me into that position of doing it remotely. But I am just now, because that was 3 or 4 years ago. And I am just now, honestly, getting the confidence to do it remotely. And I'm working on a little girl in Czech Republic. She has epilepsy. And then on my brother who's in Texas. So I can say that I would be open to do that probably in a month, but I don't want to do that until I know that I'm refined with it. I don't want to offer something and zigzag all over the place.
So if people do want to contact you, do you have a website?
Actually, I don't yet. It's not up, but the domain is quantumchipower.com. quantumchipower.com.
Okay. And
I'm
so
on Instagram if people want to learn more about what is chi cleansing and clearing. And that's what is that? That is at, yes, thank you. It's at chi_master_Daggett.
I'm going to write this down. Master Daggett. Daggett, right?
Yes. MAL. Yeah, that never mind. That's not even in there. Chi Master Daggett with underlines between the words.
Instagram. Which I can't type. Okay. And the website is chi
quantumchipower.com.
And the chi chi is QI.
Yes.
So that's for the people on YouTube. I'm putting quantumchipower.com. Okay. Yes, and so I put in the quote, if you want to come to the workshop tomorrow, go ahead and sign up if you want. And I put in the chat also, if you want clearings, there's a phone number to call, which I put in the chat. So, or if you don't get it, you can email me, judy@kittfamily.com, KITT family, all one word. So,
yeah, and people are welcome to email me if they want. Daggettayla@gmail.com. I also wanted to invite people to a Zoom workshop I'm doing July the 30th on meridian acupressure.
Ooh.
Which is something that is so simple and so powerful to help keep your meridians unblocked, because we all collect unwanted, call it negative, whatever energy that doesn't serve us. And if we can just keep it flowing, that's the key. I don't know how you would go through today's world and not bring in energy that's not helpful to the body. But if you can keep the flow moving, keep the stream going, it'll leave. It will leave on its own.
Mm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so I don't see any more questions. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing you tomorrow. And you can still join us if you are interested. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, AMBR.